Larry's training, and we were talking about QR codes. How long have you been presenting at ICE now?
This is my second year presenting at ICE. I did in Orlando, and I did again this year.
Very good. And I understand that you have a new spin on training materials. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm a big proponent of using QR codes in training, and using it as a way to engage the learner, the participant, whether it's, whether you want to use the word student or participant and trainee, whatever you want to do. People are using technology. People have the technology with them. More than one time I've been sitting in classes and people are paying attention to their laps and what they're doing. And they paid to learn something, and there's something here that, you're trying to get a hold of, but you're spending more time talking to your friends. Mm-hmm. And so with QR codes and with Twitter and the back channel, using their technology, we can kind of hijack what they're doing and get them to focus on what's going on, because in order to do it, they have to be using their technology.
Yeah, so you're creating a little bit of that stickiness in class. You're trying to keep them stuck on the topic by using technology they're familiar with, yeah?
Yeah, and their technology. They've got the smartphones, they've got the pads, they're using them, whether you want them to be or not. So while they're using them, just put something in front of them that they have to use it for.
Yeah, and I know that you teach at a university. Which university do you teach at?
I teach I'm an adjunct professor at Tulsa Community College in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And so you deal with these students firsthand. Do you see the same problem with adult learners?
Yes, everyone. You go in, executives will sit there, and managers are going to be on their phones, dealing with emails, dealing with other stuff. So even in that case, you're in that situation, you can still do stuff. Okay, everyone, let's look at this spreadsheet. Click on the QR code and let's talk about it. And it's right there in front of you. And so
that's really great. So you can connect to them right there, bring them the materials that you want to present right there in the media they're already in. So tell us a little bit about your book. You just published a book.
I did. I just published 111 Creative Ways to Use QR Codes. And it's a book about how to use them. It's something that you could sit down with, and these are not the only 111 ways to use them, but it's a way that you can sit down, and you may only use 3 of them, but you may get that from different areas. You may look at the author's area in the book and use that in the classroom. You may look at the museum section and get something out of that. It's a way to spark your creativity and build on it.
That's wonderful. Now, I work at an organization. We have our own learning and development team. We have about 7 instructional designers. We have something like 40 trainers that do instructional classroom training, and then we do webinar training. And so can you give us some suggestions on where we would use QR codes in our materials?
A really good way to use QR codes in your materials is with external information. If you put in your materials that these are the top 3 ways to do topic X, and that those top 3 ways came from an article or came from a handbook or a manual that you have, and you're just showing that one section, putting a QR code that links them to the rest of that book that they can go back later and research and reference is a way that you could use a QR code in that material.
That sounds great. I'm seeing a way to do that already, because we do leadership training for our managers and branch managers. So if we had these materials with a QR code attached, they could reference the same exact books we use for our content.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. You are presently on the board of Northeast Oklahoma, or?
I'm presently on the board of the Chicagoland chapter. I'm the co-vice president of marketing, and I work with them. I'm also on the ALC Program Advisory Committee.
Very good, very good. So the Program Advisory Committee does what exactly for ASTD?
We run the ASTD Leadership Conference. work with getting the keynote speakers, go through the RFP process to bring in who's going to be speaking and what topics are going to be speaking, market the events, and physically on site, doing logistics, making sure people have what they need during the conference.
That's great. And you have been a keynote speaker yourself, haven't you? Where have you been a speaker?
I speak at local ASTD chapters. I speak at other e-learning conferences.
Which e-learning conferences?
We have the Heartland e-learning conference, which is it's Oklahoma-centric, but it's in Oklahoma City area, and it pulls Texas and Arkansas and Missouri area as well.
That's fantastic. So I'm speaking with a keynote speaker, as well as adjunct professor, as well as QR code specialist Larry Straining.